Hey everyone, welcome to day number 262 in our Bible in a Year Plus podcast. Today we're in the book of Daniel. We're reading about people who do exploits for God, and that's what we all want to do, right? Sociologist Robert Woodbury published an article called The Missionary Roots of Liberal Democracy, and this article was published in the American Political Science Review in 2012. And the American Political Science Review is the most prestigious journal in sociology that there is. So this is very prestigious, and they're not usually friendly to Christians. But here's what the article teaches us. It says his thesis, based on impeccable statistical evidence, is that the work of missionaries turns out to be the single largest factor in ensuring the health of nations. So do you understand what that is? We're saying missionaries have gone around the world, and the more missionaries who have gone, the better off those places are. And the places that were deprived of missionaries don't do as well. All right. Areas where Protestant missionaries had a significant presence in the past are on average more economically developed, comparatively better health, lower infant mortality, lower corruption, greater literacy, higher educational attainment, especially for women, and more robust membership in non-governmental associations. One of his reviewers said, now the statistics were backing it up. Missionaries weren't just part of the picture, they were central to it. And another reviewer said, in short, do you want a blossoming democracy today? The solution is simple. If you have a time machine, send a 19th century missionary. So in other words, the work of missionaries around the world has changed the world. These missionaries have done exploits, and that's what we're reading about in Daniel chapter 11 today. Beginning in chapter 11, verse 1 in the King James Version of the Bible with updated vocabulary. Here we go. Also I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him. And now I will show you the truth. See, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the fourth shall be far richer than all the rest. And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Greece. And a mighty king shall stand up, and shall rule with great dominion, and do according to his will. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken, and shall be divided toward the 4 winds of heaven, and not to his posterity, nor according to his dominion which he ruled. For his kingdom shall be plucked up even for others beside those. And the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes, and he shall be strong above him, and have dominion. His dominion shall be a great dominion. And in the end of years they shall join themselves together, for the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement. But she shall not retain the power of the arm, neither shall he stand nor his arm, but she shall be given up, and they that brought her, and he that fathered her, and he that strengthened her in these times. But out of a branch of her roots shall one stand up in his place, which shall come with an army, and he shall enter into the fortress of the king of the north, and shall deal against them, and shall prevail. And shall also carry captives into Egypt, their gods with their princes, and with their precious vessels of silver and of gold, and he shall continue more years than the king of the north. So the king of the south shall come into his kingdom, and shall return into his own land. But his sons shall be stirred up, and shall assemble a multitude of great forces, and one shall certainly come and overflow and pass through. Then he shall return and be stirred up even to his fortress. And the king of the south shall be moved with anger, and shall come forth and fight with him, even with the king of the north, and he shall set forth a great multitude, but the multitude shall be given into his hand. And when he has taken away the multitude, his heart shall be lifted up, and he shall cast down many 10,000s, but he shall not be strengthened by it. For the king of the north shall return, and shall set forth a multitude greater than the former, and shall certainly come after certain years with a great army, and with much riches. And in those times there shall many stand up against the king of the south. Also the robbers of your people shall exalt themselves to establish the vision, but they shall fall. So the king of the north shall come and build up a mount, and take the most fenced cities, and the arms of the south shall not withstand, neither his chosen people, neither shall there be any strength to withstand. But he who comes against him shall do according to his own wishes, and no one shall stand before him, and he shall stand in the glorious land which by his hand shall be consumed. He shall also set his face to enter with the strength of his whole kingdom, and upright ones with him. Thus he shall do. He shall give him the daughter of women, corrupting her, but she shall not stand on his side, neither be for him. After this, he shall turn his face to the islands, and shall take many, but a prince for his own behalf shall cause the reproach offered by him to cease. Without his own reproach he shall cause it to turn upon him. Then he shall turn his face toward the ford of his own land, and he shall stumble and fall and not be found. Then shall stand up in his place a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom, but within a few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. And in his place shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. And with the arms of a flood they shall be overflowed before him, and shall be broken, yes, also the prince of the covenant. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up, and shall become strong with a small people. He shall enter peaceably, even upon the fattest places of the province, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey, the plunder, and the riches, yes, and he shall devise his schemes against the strongholds, even for a time. And he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army. And the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army. But he shall not stand, for they shall devise schemes against him. Yes, they who feed of the portion of his food shall destroy him, and his army will overflow, and many shall fall down killed. And both these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief, and they shall speak lies at one table, but it shall not prosper, for yet the end shall be at the time appointed. Then he shall return into his land with great riches, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant. And he shall do exploits and return to his own land. At the time appointed he shall return and come toward the south, but it shall not be as the former or the latter. For the ships of Kittim shall come against him. Therefore he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the holy covenant. So he shall do. He shall even return and have intelligence with those who forsake the holy covenant. And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that makes desolate. And such as do wickedly against the covenant he shall corrupt by flatteries. But the people who know their God shall be strong and do exploits, and those who understand among the people shall instruct many. Yet they shall fall by the sword, and by flame, by captivity, and by spoil many days. Now, when they shall fall, they shall be helped with a little help, but many shall cling to them with flatteries. And some of those of understanding shall fall, to try them, and to purge, and to make them white, even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. And the king shall do according to his wishes, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, shall prosper till the indignation is accomplished, for that which is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any god, for he shall magnify himself above all. But in his place shall he honor the God of forces, and a God whom his fathers did not know he shall honor with gold and silver, with precious stones and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds, with a strange God whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. And at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him, like a whirlwind, with chariots and horsemen, with many ships. And he shall enter into the countries, and shall overflow and pass over. He shall enter also into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown. But these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab, and chief of the children of Ammon. He shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries. The land of Egypt shall not escape. But he shall have power over the treasuries of gold and of silver, and over all the precious things of Egypt, and the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his steps. But news out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy, and utterly to take away many. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and no one shall help him. Chapter 12. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which stands for the children of your people. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation even to that same time. And at that time your people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And those who are wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and those who turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. But you, O Daniel, shut up the words, seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Then I, Daniel, looked, and see, there stood two others on this side of the bank of the river, and the other on that side of the bank of the river. And one said to the man clothed in linen, who was upon the waters of the river, How long shall it be to the end of these wonders? And I heard the man clothed in linen, who was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swore by him who lives forever, that it shall be for a time, times, and a half. And when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. And I heard, but I did not understand. Then I said, O my Lord, what shall be the end of these things? And he said, Go your way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end. Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that makes desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Blessed is he who waits and comes to the 1,335th days. But go your way till the end comes, for you shall rest and stand in your allotted portion at the end of your days. And that concludes Daniel chapter 12 and the entire book of Daniel. All right, so we have to go through chapter 11. I know that was really laborious, but this is so amazing when you see it. Remember, this is the chapter that drives the critics crazy. Like, there's no way, they say, that Daniel could have known these things 200, 300 years before they happened. How could Daniel know? And so let's talk about it just a little bit. Chapter 11, verse 2. Yet 3 kings of Persia and the 4th shall arise. So 4 more Persian kings, 3 more plus one very special one, the 3 kings that did arise in Persia after Darius were Cambyses, Pseudo-Smyrtus, Darius the first, and the 4th was Xerxes I. That's Esther's Ahasuerus, and it was his 1,000,000-man army that attacked Greece and was defeated. So that was correct. Daniel knew that there would be 3 more, in a way 4 more Persian kings after Cyrus, Darius. All right, chapter 11, verses 3 and 4. This is the meteoric rise of Alexander the Great. A mighty king shall stand up that shall rule with great dominion and do according to his wishes. When he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken, shall be divided toward the 4 winds of heaven, and not to his posterity. So Alexander dies. The 4 generals get his territory because his sons were already killed. All right, so now verses 5 through 20 of chapter 11. Talk about the perennial rivalry that goes on between the Seleucids, that's the Syrians, up north of the Holy Land, and the Ptolemies, that's the Egyptians, south of the Holy Land. And every time they attack each other, they go through the Holy Land. If Syria comes down, they go through. If Egypt goes up to Assyria, they go through. And in every case, the Holy Land is being menaced. The Jewish people are being menaced. And all this is taking place in the 100s and 200s BC. All right, so verse 6. This is 280 BC. Daniel says, They shall join themselves together, for the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement, but she shall be given up. The king of the south, that's Princess Bernice of Egypt, who married Antiochus I, king of Syria. And the idea was to bring the 2 nations together. But Antiochus I, king of Syria, abandoned her. He deserted her. How would Daniel know that 200 or 300 years before it happened? How does Daniel know? In chapter 11, verses 7 through 9, this is about 246 BC. Remember, Daniel's in the 500s. This is 250, basically. All right. But out of a branch of her, Princess Bernice, who was abandoned by Antiochus I, king of Syria, but out of a branch of her, one shall stand up and shall enter into the fortress of the king of the north and shall prevail. So Princess Bernice's brother, Ptolemy III, successfully invaded the north, and he was avenging the way they ill-treated Bernice. How did Daniel know this? Chapter 11, verses 10 through 13. This is 218 BC. We're getting farther away from Daniel. His sons in Syria, his sons shall be stirred up and overflow and pass through, and the king of the south shall be moved with anger and shall come forth and fight with the king of the north. So this is Antiochus III the Great from Syria fighting the Egyptians. And he successfully invaded Egypt, but then the Egyptian king, Ptolemy Philopator, retaliated the next year, and that put the Egyptians on top again. So you see, back and forth we go. Chapter 11, verses 14 through 16. By the way, how did Daniel know that? Chapter 11, verses 14 through 16. Many shall stand up against the king of the south, so the king of the north shall come, and the arms of the south shall not withstand. So Antiochus III the Great soon attacks Egypt again and defeats them, placing Syria on top. How did Daniel know that? Now we're coming to the very early 200s BC. And Daniel's in the 500s, right? This is 204 BC, chapter 11, verses 17 through 19. And he shall give him the daughter of women, corrupting her, but she shall not stand on his side, neither before him. Then he shall turn his face toward the fort of his own land, and he shall stumble and fall. So Antiochus III the Great decides to give his baby daughter, when the time comes, to be married to the king of Egypt. And that way, once again, you have a marriage and it will unite Syria and Egypt, right? That's the idea. But so his own daughter grows up to side against him after all. And Daniel knew that because he said, he'll give him the daughter of women, but she'll be corrupted. She'll side against her own dad. She shall not stand on his side. How did Daniel know that? Daniel's writing in the 500s. This is 204. How did Daniel know that? Chapter 11, verse 20. This is 190 BC, farther away from Daniel still. It says in verse 20, then in his place shall stand up a raiser of taxes. This guy raises taxes in the glory of the kingdom, but within a few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. So Seleucus IV Philopator, that's the son of Antiochus III the Great, he became king, and he was eventually assassinated while trying to raise tax money to appease the Romans. So, as Daniel said it, he doesn't die in anger or in battle. He was assassinated mysteriously, just disappeared, not in battle and not in anger. And he's a raiser of taxes. This is 190 BC. How did Daniel in the 500s BC know that this guy was going to be a raiser of taxes? You see, this is uncanny. This is impossible. Chapter 11, verse 21 through 35. This is now 175 to 164 BC. This is Antiochus Epiphanes. So Daniel's in the 500s. This is 175 and 160. And in his place a vile person shall stand up. Antiochus Epiphanes is prominently featured in this vision, and he, of course, is going to be, like all the others, battling back and forth between Syria, his homeland, and Egypt down south, crossing back and forth over the Holy Land. Chapter 11, verses 29 through 30. This is so great. He shall return and come, so this is Antiochus Epiphanes. And this is 168 BC. He shall return and come toward the south. He wants to attack Egypt, but it shall not be as the former or as the latter. He's been so successful, but something's going to change this time. For the ships of Kittim. Kittim is actually Cyprus, but the Mediterranean area is being dominated now by Rome. And so this is actually Roman interference. Therefore, the ships of Kittim are Roman ships. Therefore, he shall be grieved and return and have anger against the Holy Covenant. All right, so in 168 BC, Antiochus Epiphanes has marched against Egypt, like so many times before, right? The kings from Syria march against Egypt, and he conquered Memphis, and he turned toward Alexandria, and he thought, sure, that he's going to have an easy victory in Alexandria as well. But the people in Alexandria appealed to the Romans to come and help them. So the Romans dispatched a very important commander and ambassador, and his name is Gaius Linus. and he's an elderly fellow, and he comes by himself in the ships from Kittim. And as the story goes, he meets Antiochus Epiphanes on his way to Alexandria, and he intercepts him and says, you have to turn back and go home and leave Alexandria alone. And as the story goes, Antiochus looks at Gaius Lanus, and he says, I will consider with my counsel what you're telling me. And so this old ambassador took his walking stick and he drew a circle around where Antiochus was standing. He said, very well, you can consider it, but when you step out of that circle, you give me your answer, and you better be facing east because it's time to go home. And Antiochus says, well, why should I listen to you? You don't even have an army. He said, as far as you're concerned, I am Rome. I am Rome's largest army, and whatever I say is going to influence the rest of this outcome. And so Antiochus was mad. That's what Daniel said, right? The ships of Kittim shall come against him. Therefore, he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the Holy Covenant. Now, Antiochus is all upset. He has to turn back. He can't conquer Egypt. He goes back home. On the way home, he passes through the Holy Land. Well, news had come in the Holy Land that Rome had defeated Antiochus Epiphanes, and so they were all celebrating. And when Antiochus shows up, he sees these people celebrating his death. They think that he died. He was defeated, but he didn't die. So they're celebrating, and he is so angry. And this is when he kills thousands of people, puts a statue of Zeus in the temple, and kills a pig for a sacrifice on the bronze altar. This is where all of that goes down, and Daniel knew that. So again, this is 168 BC. Daniel's in the 500s BC. How does Daniel know that? You see, that's crazy. It's impossible. Chapter 11, verse 30. He shall even return and have intelligence with those who forsake the Holy Covenant. There were always these Jewish people in Jerusalem and in the Holy Land in general who could be bought off. And so Antiochus has intelligence with people who forsake, with Jewish people who forsake the Holy Covenant and sell out their own people to Antiochus. In chapter 11, verse 31, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that makes desolate. So Zeus in the temple, slaughter a pig on the bronze altar. And Zeus in the temple is what Jewish people from that day forward always called the abomination of desolation, the idol that brings calamity. And so it was. Chapter 11, verses 32 to 35. And such as do wickedly against the covenant, he shall corrupt by flattery. So Jewish people siding with Antiochus because they are being flattered by him, and he gives them gifts and he gives them money. But the people that know their God shall be strong and do exploits. That's so great, right? They know God, they're going to be strong, and they're going to do exploits. Chapter 11, verse 35. And some of them of understanding shall fall, even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. This is talking about the time of the end. So we're going to quit talking about Antiochus Epiphanes here. That's kind of like in a layer. But now we're going to talk about somebody who's much different than Antiochus. So chapter 11, verse 36. And the king shall do according to his will. He shall exalt himself, magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation is accomplished. For that which is determined shall be done. So we're going to bring right up to the end times. And so now we quit talking about Antiochus Epiphanes, and we're going to talk about Antichrist, who is like Antiochus Epiphanes, and who's inspired by the same evil, demonic spirit as Antiochus Epiphanes, but this is Antichrist. All right, in chapter 11, verse 37, neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women. All right, the God of his fathers, that is a very prominent Jewish concept in Scripture. The God of your fathers, the God of your fathers, Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. That's very Jewish. So this helps us to understand that Antichrist is not only going to be Roman because, he fights for Rome. He's not only going to be Roman, but he's also going to be Jewish. So he doesn't regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women. Evidently, Antichrist is a homosexual, which is what most Roman emperors were. And then you see that in chapter 11 verse 38. But in his place, he shall honor the God of forces. That is so interesting. So the paganism that Antichrist embraces is like the Hinduism or New Age religion that says that the universe is one great force. It's with the manifestation movement where you tell the universe what you want and it gives it to you. So there's like this force, and you know about it probably popularly because of the Star Wars movies, where they're using the force that's everywhere in the universe to accomplish magical things. And that is the paganism of Antichrist, sort of a Hinduism, New Age, Star Wars sort of idea. And so that's the paganism of Antichrist. Chapter 11, verse 40, and at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him. So we see Antichrist's one world government is difficult to maintain. He has all of these problems, people trying to, splinter off and fragment. Chapter 11, verse 41, many countries shall be overthrown, but there shall escape out of his hand even Edom, Moab, and the children of Ammon, which is just hilarious because nobody can ever control the Arab people. They've never been under anybody's control, and even Antichrist can't control them. So I think that's just so funny. Chapter 11, verse 44, but news out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly to take many away. And so his kingdom is hard to hold together, and it's splintering, and he has to keep doing damage control. Chapter 11, verse 45. And he shall set up the tents of his palace between the seas. That's between the Dead Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. And in the middle, Jerusalem. He sets up his headquarters in Jerusalem. He shall set up the tents of his palace between the seas, the Dead Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, in the glorious holy mountain. That's Jerusalem. But when the Lord's allotted time for his corrupt reign has come to an end, no one will be able to help him. And that brings us to the end. Chapter 12 is just a continuation of that. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which stands for the children of Daniel's people. And there shall be a time of trouble like never before. But this is angel interception, angel intervention. And now Michael, the archangel, the strongest angel of heaven, stands up for Daniel's people, and he helps them. Chapter 12, verse 2. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. Why is it just many who awake? Remember, as we start the millennium, we finish Armageddon, right? Start the millennium, and we have to wake up. We have to bring back from death all of the Old Testament saints so they can enjoy the millennium and populate the millennium. We've talked about that before. And some will be raised up to everlasting contempt. That's a little bit later down the line, but that's how it is. Some have wonderful resurrections, and some have terrible resurrections to pain and torment. It says in verse 3, and those who are wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, stars in the space. And those who turn many to righteousness will shine like stars forever and ever. And I hope that's what you are doing. Chapter 12, verse 11. From the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away and the abomination that makes desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Well, we are used to seeing 1,260 days. That's 3.5 years. And now it's 1290. So why the extra 30 days? Apparently, we're coming into the millennium, 30 days into the millennium, and something big is happening 30 days into the millennium. We don't know what it is. And then verse 12, blessed is he who waits and comes to the 1335th day. So now that's 75 days into the millennium. So 1,260 plus 75 more, the 1335th day. And again, something happens 75 days into the millennium that is important, but we don't know what it is. But there's a blessing for those who enjoy that day in the millennium. And then one more verse, chapter 12, verse 13. Daniel, go your way till the end, for you shall rest and stand in your allotted place at the end of the days. So Daniel has promised a wonderful ending to his life for a life of faithfulness, and we just love that. All right, so our great life lesson, chapter 11, verse 32. But the people who know their God shall be strong and do exploits. I love that. They're going to do great things. When you became a follower of Jesus Christ, you joined, and I hope you have become a follower of Jesus Christ. But if you have, you joined the greatest social organization, the greatest society the world has ever known. With God's book in our hands. We have changed the course of human events. We have done exploits. Our words have peppered the entire world, as we started out by saying the missionaries, wherever they have gone, have changed the world for the better. Our words have peppered the entire world with the love and truth of Jesus, and we have saved, we don't even know how many individuals from sin, death, and hell, and we've saved them from thousands, 10,000s of foolish choices in life. These are exploits. And I think our prayer should be to make a difference today in some nice person's life, even in a culture where there is so much anti-Christian feeling, that the Lord would help us to do exploits, to make a difference in someone's life today. So I think that'd be a great prayer. I hope you'll pray in your heart as I pray out loud, okay? Father God, we want to do exploits for you. We want to make a difference in some nice person's life, to be able to be part of their rescue, a significant part perhaps of their rescue. We want to be those who stand true, who know our God and stand loyal to you, so that as we go through life, our lives have cosmic importance because we are doing exploits for the great God of the universe, things that matter for eternity. Lord, please let that be our case even today. Will you give us some nice person to help today, to help to find you or to know you better? We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, okay, thank you for studying the book of Daniel with me, day 262. I sure hope I get to see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.